1969, exactly 11 years later, take a look at it. Apollo, what number? 11. And it did what? Landed on the moon. Some say it didn't. You're welcome to your opinion. I think they did. I think they did because what is not known by a lot of people is that the two men, and there were 3 in that capsule, but 2 men actually landed on the moon. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. And did you know that both of those guys were 33-degree Scottish Rite Masons? And about 33 minutes after they landed on the moon, they performed, and this is knowable knowledge, anybody can find this out, they performed a Masonic communion service on the surface of the moon. Why did they do that? Very interesting. But notice that it's Apollo 11. Notice the logo for Apollo 11. We have an eagle with a branch. And when you see a bird flying around with a branch, what is it going to do? It's building a nest, isn't it? Now I want you to remember that because toward the end here we're going to see that that is exactly what the Bible said that they were going to do. It's very, very interesting. And you remember when those 2 guys landed on the moon, there was a phone call. It's the longest distance phone call ever take place between the president, Richard Nixon, and these 2 men. And here is what Nixon said concerning their landing. He said, because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. Wow! That is at the core of the secret of Freemasonry. Heavens becoming a part of man's world. In fact, if I could just illustrate this for you very quickly, the symbol of the square and compass, this is what Albert Pike said. The compass represents the heaven principle, and the square represents the earth principle, and they're joined together. Think about it. As you talk to us, Nixon goes on to say, from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to the earth. That sounds like peace and safety, doesn't it, you? What else happened? 1969. There was an album released in the 70s, a song by the Eagles called Hotel California. Remember that song? You've listened to that song, haven't you? Sure you have. And the words go like this. And I asked the lady, please bring me my wine. Wine is a symbol of the Spirit. And she said, we haven't had that Spirit here since when? 1969. Very interesting. 1969 is when Anton Sandor LaVey published his Satanic Bible. That's when it first came out. And LaVey was head of the First Church of Satan, get this, in San Francisco on California Street. And the Eagles, in their song, Hotel California, were singing a song about the Church of Satan on California Street called Hotel California. Now I'm going to throw this in, and you'll get another video when we talk about this on our video about Yea Hath God Said, the Bible translation issue. Which Bible should I use? That right now, the Satanic Bible is currently in print. And it's produced and it's printed by a company called HarperCollins. HarperCollins is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch also owns Zondervan Publishing Company, which publishes the NIV. And I'm going to give you a verse out of the Bible. The Bible says that a tree, a corrupt tree, cannot produce good fruit. And I'm saying to you that any corporation or anything that has anything to do with the Satanic Bible, and one man who prints the Satanic Bible in one hand and the NIV Bible in the other, something's up. Something's up. How many of you remember this song, The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius? And that song was released in 1969. They were heralding the events taking place then. And the Aquarius is designated as number 11 out of the 12 zodiac signs. Very, very interesting. 11 years later, from 1969, 1980, Marilyn Ferguson releases The Aquarian Conspiracy, telling everybody what the New Age has planned. By the way, I've read about half of that book. I'm just kind of going through it piece by piece. And something that I've noticed already in the language that Marilyn Ferguson uses to show, and she is a New Ager, to show what is going on in the New Age movement, the language that she's using is the language that I hear coming out of the emerging church, the Rick Warren purpose-driven movement, on and on and on. Community building, new paradigm shift, reformation. They're using the same language, folks. You can believe that or not. You can be mad at me for saying that or not. I don't care. It's the truth. Notice the symbol there. Notice the symbol. It's called the triquetra. There's a tarot card called the Hierophant. The Hierophant. We deal with that symbol. And he's holding a triquetra in one hand, and he's making the sign of 3 in the other hand, and I know what that means, and we'll talk about that in another video. He has a pentagram on his chest, and on and on. There's a lot of symbols here. But the Hierophant basically is in charge of bringing people to the New World Order, initiating them. And he holds in his hand the key to transformation. So why did that symbol show up in 1980 on the New King James Version of the Bible? We answer that question in one of our other videos. It was in 1991, 11 years later, that George Bush said,
"What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order."
It is a big idea, a new world order. Exactly 11 years later. Now let's deal with the Twin Towers. I want you to notice that steel construction began on the World Trade Center in 1968. 2001, they were brought down. How many years is that? That's 33 years. By the way, how old was Jesus when he died? 33. Think about it. Think about what's being represented here. And there's a lot that I'm not giving you that has to do with the Antichrist and the plan that's going to be followed in the life of the Antichrist. But it has everything to do with the number 33. I promise you it does. Notice this, Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech." Like the whole earth, one world. And notice the exact address of the World Trade Centers was One World Tower. Very interesting. Here you see the phrase. They said in Genesis 11, they said, "Let us build us a tower whose top may reach unto heaven." And I just remember when I first saw what I'm going to show you up on the screen, I just couldn't believe it. A brochure that was printed advertising office space in the World Trade Center. And I want you to take a look at it. Look at what it says. The closest some of us will ever get to heaven. Wow. "Let us build us a tower whose top may reach into heaven." Take a look at the World Trade Centers there. The tower appears as the number 11. Each tower is exactly 110 stories tall. That's 11 times 10. They were destroyed on September 11th. The first tower was hit by, you guessed it. And who was the pilot? Who was the terrorist pilot in Flight 11? The first tower was hit by Flight 11. Who was the terrorist pilot of Flight 11? It was Muhammad Atta. You might want to take a guess at how old he was. He's 33 years old when he flew that plane into that building. There are 111 days left in the year. So it has everything to do with the number 11. It has everything to do with the secret of Freemasonry, the rebuilding of the Tower of Babel, on and on and on. And we're going to see something here. Take a look at these tarot cards. Tarot cards. It's called the Tower card. And there are 4 representations here up on the screen. Tarot goes way back. It's part of the secret of the occult, the mystery religions. They're telling you the secret in secret form. And the tower, notice what you see here. The tower being struck, catching on fire, people falling out of it. You saw those images. And when the tower collapses, a new one rises in its place. And it's interesting to me that in the exact place where these 2 towers fell, a tower is going to be built in its place, and it's going to rise to the height of 1,776 feet tall, 1776. That's the year that the Illuminati was formed. May 1st, 1776. That's the year that's on the back of the dollar bill. Isn't that interesting?